the stream. Happy Mondays. It's the 16th of May. It's a sunny, sunny summer. Europe's looking good. America's looking good. Australia's looking good. The weather's good. Everyone's in holiday mode right now. But here in DeFi, we never take a day off. Not even on the weekends. The markets don't close on the weekends for us. So we do have insights for you. Can somebody just like unmute their mic and tell me if they can see my screen?
Yeah, it's live, bro. I see it.
It's live. It's live. Awesome. Awesome. So you guys can see my screen. And yeah, today we're going to be covering a little bit of news. So we're going to start off with just a few headlines. So let me just go through the headlines and I'll tell you the format and why we're going to speak about them. So as we have a bearish market, you guys can expect a bunch of bearish news to come with it. There's going to be pundits that are going to say the word "I told you so." There's going to be big anchors from the old side of finance that are going to be explaining their side of why they don't see value in Bitcoin. And these news articles are going to keep coming to you, especially with the Luna kerfuffle that's happened, them pegging their UST against Bitcoin at such high prices and seeing the move there. So we're going to cover a little bit about Luna. We're going to be talking about BenBernanke, the Fed Reserve, the previous former Fed Reserve guy. He's going to talk about why he sees no value in Bitcoin. We're going to be looking into stables a little bit, because I think because Tether last week lost a bit of its peg against the dollar, not as much as UST, but by you can say 2 cents, so 98 cents. But we're back on Tether. We're going to talk about Circle and their USDC bank reserve and why they have sort of the privileges that they do and what makes them a stable coin. We're going to be talking about a big basically conference, a big meeting that's taken place in El Salvador, and it's involving 144 different countries that are looking to adapt Bitcoin tender. So it's going to be good news there. We're going to be talking about how Binance is basically helping Terra rebuild their token, their mainnet. So we're gonna hear from Champenzao, CZ. We're gonna talk about how Luna is and trading on Binance has resumed. And we're gonna be looking into all these different things. And it's gonna be a good half an hour session. So I'm gonna start out here with the BenBernanke news. So give me 1 second. So the headline here reads, BenBernanke says he doesn't see value in Bitcoin. The former Fed chairman says the crypto is too complicated to use as money. Let's see what he means by that. Let's look at the key takeaways in this article. So the article reads out, former US Federal Reserve Chairman BenBernanke told CNBC on Monday that he does not believe Bitcoin works as money, a store of value, or digital gold. So these were his comments here. So he reads out, if Bitcoin were a substitute for fiat money, you could use Bitcoin to buy your groceries. Nobody buys groceries with Bitcoin because it's too expensive and too inconvenient to do that, he added. So this guy, like, he was a former Fed Reserve, and these are his views and opinions, and he's not the first one to say these sort of, and he's picked the right time to do it, especially when you have a bearish climate over Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies overall. And remember, this was the same guy who talked about the tech companies previously, in the same way in the early 90s and the early 2000s. So expect these sort of comments, and that's how it starts. So here it reads out, turning to monetary policy, Bernanke, who was behind the original zero interest rate policy and quantitative easing, criticized the current Fed for not moving quickly enough to tighten monetary policy in the face of advancing inflation. Under even a benign scenario, Bernanke said he expects the economy to slow and unemployment to rise, even as inflation remains high. You could call it stagflation. So he's not sort of Bitcoin is not the only thing he's bearish about. He's bearish about the total economy and yeah. The reason we talk about these things is because these are the kind of folks we're gonna quote in a few years when Bitcoin does hit 100,000, when it hits $1 million, when it hits $1.5 million, and we have pullbacks. They're gonna say the same thing, but let's see if later in the year he sort of adapts it, because there's been a lot of political folks that have went through the same stride where they denied its value, and then they came back to basically appreciate it and understand its thing. So yeah, so that's the first sort of bearish form of news that sort of came out of BenBernanke, the former Federal Reserve chair. The next thing I want to kind of look into is you can say this tweet here. This tweet here covers, this is from Larry Cermek, a Twitter tag that you should be following. This guy's insights are pretty cool. So here he writes out, he's talking about LFG is the Lunar Foundation guard. So in summary, LFG has gone from $3.1 billion in their reserves a week ago to now roughly having $87 million. Right, so $3.1 billion was their has been gone from their wallets, and they only have a rough amount of $87 million. So he goes, which means they spent roughly $3 billion defending the USD peg, and the USD still collapsed. So these are the kind of things that we can basically learn from, because these are the kind of things that we'll be looking back on. It's the same thing we did when the first recession took place in 2008, and we looked into sort of Lehman Brothers and all sorts of these fallouts that took place. So that's the first news here. So basically, Terra Luna have overspent $3.1 billion to save UST, and this is their current you can say reserve. So they started off with their sum amount was 3.1 billion, and now they have a sum amount of 268 million, right, in USD and AVAX and BNB and BTC and Luna. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share this tweet out with you guys so you guys can further research this, because I think this is a really important case study in DeFi, and it's something that we should be looking into much more regularly and be discussing rigorously, especially if we're going to be doing the stuff that we are in DeFi and seeing its development, and especially if we're looking to create stablecoins and create solutions of the future. So that's the tweet there about Luna Foundation. Let's continue. The next thing I want to kind of look into is stablecoins, because we talked a little bit about UST and its unpegging, it's depegging from the US dollar. And I think I think it's important to understand stablecoins a little bit, because we use stablecoins to take profit in DeFi. We use stablecoins as a peg against the dollar, and that gives us a safe environment. Most cryptocurrencies are inflationary, so it's important that we understand where coins like USDC are going. So the article here reads, Circle says USDC reserve backed entirely in cash and short-dated US Treasuries. Right, on May the 13th, Circle Chief Financial Officer Jeremy Fox Green published a blog post called How to Be Stable. Following the aftermath of Terra's stablecoin implosion, Circle CFO explained that since USD coin inception, stablecoins aim to be the most transparent and trusted dollar digital currency. Let's continue reading here, because this is really important. So it reads here, Terra's stable depegging incident has cast a spotlight on the entire stablecoin economy. It really has. Like the way stable, the algorithmic stablecoin is Terra, USD, like depegged against the dollar by 50 cents, then 35 cents, then 16 cents. It tells you a lot to how these pegs should actually work. So it reads here, for a few years now, stablecoin assets have been a popular hedging vehicle among many participants within the cryptocurrency community. In more recent times, stablecoins are being loaned out in greater numbers in order to gather interest and high yield returns. In the early days, stablecoins were centralized projects, and these days there are a few decentralized and algorithmic stablecoins tokens among the giants. USDT and USDC are the two largest stablecoins projects in terms of market valuation. Both of them are centralized, which means the companies guarantees the stablecoins are redeemable for the dollar parity for holding reserves that cover the funds in circulation. Even before Terra stablecoin depegging event, more confidence has been placed in the two stablecoins because they are centralized. So yeah, this is a little bit of insights from the Circle Foundation, right? So Circle Foundation tweeted out, Jeremy Allaire, one of the members of Circle. So he basically tweets out, we are ramping up our efforts around trust and transparency with USDC. Stay tuned for more, but get started. Here's a new blog post, right? So he wrote a complete blog post here. And I think these are things that us as sort of like, you know, DeFi hodlers, as sort of fanatics of DeFi, we should be looking quite insightfully into like where stablecoins currently stand, especially after what's happened with the USD stablecoin. So I'm gonna post this article to you guys here. This is the Circle blog. I think this is important. I'm gonna pass that here. Just give me 1 second. Cool. So you guys can read into that. So that's USDC coming out and being more transparent of what is backed against their USDC token. Now I'm gonna talk a little bit about Tether, USDT. So what happened last week with USDT? Let's read this article here. So it reads out, Tether loses dollar peg as crypto anxiety hits #1 stablecoin. The key takeaways here are implosion of Terra USD stablecoin ripples across the market. Terra says it hasn't had any problems meeting redemption. So this article starts off writing, dominoes are falling in crypto. First, it was the collapse of the algorithmic stablecoin Terra USD, sowing turbulence in the broader market. Now it's grown up cousin Tether is wavering from the peg, fueling concerns over its status as a place to hide during times of turbulence. Whilst things appear to be settling down for the moment, nobody's feeling safe. Tether briefly dropped to the lowest level since December 2020, falling to 94 cents to the dollar from its intended 1-to-1 peg to the dollar on Thursday before recovering to just above 99 cents. On reassurance from Paulo Arduino, Tether's chief technology officer, that investors shouldn't have any problems redeeming its token at a 1-to-1 value to the dollar via its platform. Meanwhile, Bitcoin recovered from intraday losses of more than 10% early Thursday to edge higher in the US morning. The world's largest cryptocurrency traded at about 29,000 as of noon. So they're talking about the more higher regard of like Bitcoin and sort of the overall market redemption. So the UST sort of issue with Terra has really brought a complete zonal look into where stables are, and this is why it's important to kind of see where do we stand with USDT, where do we stand with USDC, what is a stablecoin, what is it backed by, you know, what's it bringing to us. So yeah, so Tether kind of lost its peg against the dollar, but it's done. It's not the first time. It's done this before in a pullback of a market. We've seen this before, and if you can see here, currently to the dollar, Tether is pegged at 99 cents, right? So it's so it's not a big thing. Whilst USDC is currently pegged at $1. And yeah, so is BUSD, the famous Binance USD coin. So these are sort of a little outlook of where stables are currently at, right? So whilst you have the bearish market and 29k Bitcoin and a $2,000 Ethereum, it's important to look into one thing though. Like one thing I would say for any viewer is to keep a track of the 24-hour volume, because when you do have bearish market, we have to see where the money goes. And currently, if you see 29, you can say billion has been traded in Bitcoin, 20 billion has been traded in Ethereum. But check this out. How much has been traded in Tether itself? If we look into Tether right here, Tether has traded 60 billion. USDC has traded 12 billion. So this tells you that basically it's a sell market, and everyone's using the stables as a hedge against Bitcoin, Ethereum, and the inflationary DeFi tokens. So I hope that kind of gave you guys some insights into where we stand with stables, and to know, yeah, that we're in a bearish market, and everything is going under the radar when it comes to stables. So that's the news on Tether. Now I'm going to kind of talk about the more positive news, the more adoption news, the more, you can say, interoperable news, the kind of news that we want to hear. So this was the article that came out a day ago. So it reads out: President Nayib Bukele announces 44 countries to meet in El Salvador to discuss Bitcoin. Let's continue reading. El Salvador President Nayib Bukele announced that 32 central banks and 12 financial authorities are meeting in the country to discuss Bitcoin. So last Sunday night, El Salvador President announced on Twitter that 32 central banks, 12 financial authorities from 44 different countries are to meet on Monday, May the 16th, which is today. Is it today? Yeah, it's today. So today these countries are meeting up, and let's continue reading. So to discuss financial inclusion, digital economy, banking the unbanked, El Salvador's Bitcoin rollout and its benefits in the country. In follow-up tweet, the president announced that the Central Bank of Sao Tome and Principe and Central Bank of Paraguay, National Bank of Angola, Bank of Ghana, Namibia, Uganda, Guinea, Central Bank of Madagascar. So we have the whole African contingent here. We have the Middle Eastern contingent here in the Central Bank of Jordan. And then we have Honduras and Madagascar and the Maldives. So all these nations have seen the benefits that Bitcoin tender has given to El Salvador. So it's pretty awesome. It's pretty bullish that whilst we're in a bearish market, that you have Kenya, the state of Pakistan, all these the financial entities of Costa Rica, all these countries coming to El Salvador to come to this meeting to learn much more about the Bitcoin tender and the sort of cause and effect that it brings. So that's the news there, and it's really positive news. I think we're gonna have like through the next couple of days, we're gonna hear much more insights in adoption from these countries, all these developing countries, on how they sort of emphasize Bitcoin and how they use cryptocurrencies as a hedge against the fiat currency. So I'm gonna actually pass this. This was from Nasdaq, so I'm gonna pass this article to you guys here in Cobra voice chat. Just give me a second. So yeah, that's really, really, really positive news. That whilst we're in a bearish market, whilst we have BenBernanke talk about Bitcoin the way he has and stuff, we have these sort of things happening. So yeah, that's one of the articles. Let me see if I can give you some more insights from this other article, right? So let's go to bitcoinmagazine.com and basically see if there's any more insights into so it goes, it took 12 years for the first country to adopt Bitcoin, around 8. Let me just zoom into this a little bit so you guys can kind of read here. So yeah, it took 12 years for the first country to adopt Bitcoin, around 8 months for the second, and if Panama's president signs their recent Bitcoin bill into law, then they will be the third only about a month after the second. Now countries from all over the world are meeting in El Salvador to discuss financial inclusion and how adopting Bitcoin can benefit their countries, gradually, then suddenly. So that's the insights there. These are the countries here that you can see. So I'll name some of these countries. Central bankers from Angola, Armenia, Bangladesh, Burundi, Congo, Costa Rica, Egypt, Gambia, Ghana, India, Namibia, Senegal, Sudan, Uganda, Zambia, and 25 other developing countries are getting on plane today to fly to El Salvador. So yeah, that's the positive news. It's this is the kind of environments that these countries should go, especially when they can buy the Bitcoin at the dip, right? So that's the news there. So that's the adoption news there. Let's continue with the news now. So now I'm gonna kind of look into how Binance is gonna be helping Terra rebuild itself, right? So this is from the sort of post-mortem of what's happened at Terra. As we know, the Terra founder sort of announced on his Twitter that they're going to be looking to rebuild Terra because it has a strong mainnet. It has a lot of good developing that's happening in the background. So he gave his sort of, a notice that he is going to be working towards that. So let's read this article here. So it reads out, Binance to help rebuild, but expect more transparency, says CEO CZ, right? So Binance CEO Changpeng Zhao says the leading cryptocurrency is ready to support Terraform Labs and as communities rise from the ashes. However, he expects the team behind the Luna and UST tokens to offer more transparency and accountability. So Luna and UST collapse this past week caused ripples, attracted a lot of attention from around the cryptocurrency community and elsewhere. Among these reactions have been falsehood circulation in crypto Twitter. So let's see what Changpeng Zhao wrote, right? So CZ wrote, these past weeks have proven to be a watershed moment for the crypto industry. We have witnessed the rapid decline of a major project, which sent ripples across the industry, but also a newfound resiliency in the market that did not exist during the last market downswing. Absolutely, the last time the markets dipped, it was a real bloodshed across the board, and this time around with the dips, like I would say the DeFi and the crypto community overall has developed better passage, and there's been better words from big hedges like MicroStrategies, from Grayscale. But we'll continue reading CZ's words here. So he goes here, regarding Binance's support for Terra, Zhao explained that his viewpoints is that minting, forking don't create value. According to him, mechanisms that allow for buyback or burning work. However, this requires funds that Do Kwon and his Terraform Labs team may not have access to. Binance will therefore work towards helping the team, but more needs to be done. In this regard, I would like to see more transparency from them, much more, including specific on chain transactions of all the funds. Relying on third party analysis is not sufficient or accurate. This is the first thing that should have happened. I totally agree with him. Projects can and will fail, but Zhao acknowledged that failures can and will happen. Nonetheless, when such setbacks occur, it needs the team behind the projects to be more transparent, act with speed, and communicate. Owning up with failures happens is also vital. The Binance chief added in a Twitter thread on Sunday. So what does he say in this thread? He goes, I am just hoping that the project teams can rise from the ashes and rebuild in a proper and sensible way. Regardless of my personal views or the solutions chosen in the end, we will always be here to support the community in any way we can. So that's the sort of insights that have come from CZ. So a Treasury spokesman further pointed out that the UK will not legalize payments via algorithmic stablecoin like Terra, but instead support one-to-one fully backed stablecoins like USDT and USDC. So the so this is from the UK government here, right? So Rishi Sunak, the Treasury Chancellor, he quotes, the government have been clear that certain stablecoins are not suitable for payment purposes as they share characteristics that with unbacked crypto assets. We will continue to monitor the wider crypto asset market and stand ready to take further regulatory actions if required. So yeah, guys, out of everything, this is 1 week where I've not seen as much spoken about concerning stables as I have this week. It's been mayhem, especially when USD really pegged off the dollar. So that's the news from Changpeng Zhao and Binance, that they are open, but they want more transparency. That's their commentary there, which is good. So this was followed up by this news here that that Luna and UST trading resumed, right? So this is a sort of a letter from Binance to its followers, and it reads out: Binance will resume spot trading for Luna BUSD and Luna and USD BUSD trading pairs on the 25th and 13th of May. Deposit withdrawals for Luna and USD will also open at the same time. Please ensure that you have done your own research with research into the fundamentals of Luna and USD before trading. So just like anything, they're telling you to do your own research. But Binance has resumed trading of Luna. Let's continue now. The last thing I'm gonna cover for today is basically where the $3.5 billion of basically Luna's Bitcoin went, right? Because this is something that's in the news right now, and it reads out as usual: crypto mystery. Around $3.5 billion worth of Bitcoin in Terra has just disappeared. The global crypto mayhem last week wiped out Bitcoin worth $3.5 billion created to defend and support the Terra UST stablecoin, which saw a total crash, and no one saw any idea how such a large sum of money disappeared. Nearly 80,394 Bitcoin worth $3.5 billion were purchased by the Luna Foundation Guard, the non-profit organization set up to promote the growth of the Terra ecosystem this year. According to blockchain analytics from firm Elliptic, CoinDesk reported that while untold billions in value and wealth were lost when those reserves proved inadequate to prevent a depegging last week, what no one knows is what happened to those reserves and where they are now. So Terra Lab CEO Dokwan tweeted that they were currently working on documenting the use of LFG BTC reserves during the depegging event. So he quotes here: "I spent the last few days on the phone calling Terra community members, builders, community members, employees, families, and friends who have been devastated by UST depegging." So we'll continue. So the UST coin is designed to retain a value of $1 at all times, but was depegged last week and fell to just 17 cents. Luna's value collapsed in one of the most stunning crypto crashes ever recorded. In total, over $15 billion in cryptocurrency value was wiped after the Terra USD stablecoin collapse. According to the blockchain analytics firm, 52,189 BTC was moved to a single account at US crypto exchange Gemini via several Bitcoin transactions. The remaining 28,205 Bitcoin in Terra's reserves were moved in their entirety in a single transaction to an account at the cryptocurrency exchange Binance. It is not possible to identify whether these assets were sold or subsequently moved to other wallets. Tom Robinson, co-founder, chief scientist at Elliptic, quotes: "All we can see is it's going into these exchanges." So yeah, the whereabouts stay a mystery. Like so he quotes here: neither I nor any institution that I'm affiliated with profited in any way from the incident. I sold no Luna, no USD during the crisis. So this is Dokwan speaking about if he profited from the from the endeavor. So this is something that we will through the week look into much deeper and see where and track some wallets and do some investigation to see where the Bitcoin went. But thus far, what we realize is a bunch of it went to Gemini exchange, and another bunch of it went to Binance. So that is the news for today, guys. If anyone wants to unmute and sort of add a suggestion or ask a question, it's pretty interesting, isn't it? How things have developed in the last week. But that's the news for this week, and I will conclude the recording now. Thank you so much.